everyone, welcome to Keto and Crime. Today I've got a breakdown of Friday, or day 10 in the Vallow case, and it's all about Zulema, as well as Zulema. So the famous 𝗙𝗹𝗪 has taken the stand, and she has not disappointed. So with that being said, let's dive into it. If you're new here, I do true crime, dark history. My tree changes with the holidays. It still has Easter up here, so I'm a little behind, as well as my birthday, but it will be changing very, very soon. I am kind of suspending normal programming during the Daybell trial to keep you informed in concise summaries about what's happening, so you don't have to listen to the hours and hours of recordings that is so graciously being provided by the East Idaho News. Thank you so much. But it does mean that I'm going to be a day behind other people that may be purchasing them from the court or actually at the court, which I could not get in to do. I tried, could not. Literally, you had to make a reservation. I couldn't get a seat, so I wasn't going to fly out there if I couldn't actually get in. So let's start up with what happened on Friday, shall we? Friday started with some concern by the defense over a PowerPoint presentation to be displayed by the prosecution, but that was quickly settled. The jury was brought in about 8:45 a.m. and the PowerPoint presentation began. And on that was a mixture of emails, some of them from Charles Vallow, who is Loury Vallow's ex-husband, to Chad, supposedly asking him to ghostwrite a book. And there was a whole lot of conjecture there. And so we started seeing both that text and email, as far as texts between Chad and Loury where they were accusing each other of infidelity, and it was getting very hostile, as well as some communication between Chad and Loury where there was some argument about whether or not Charles was actually writing a book on the LDS faith. And then probably the most interesting thing is text and email conversations between Charles Vallow, who was then Loury's husband, and Loury, where he was threatening to go tell Tammy Daybell about her and Chad's affair. And Tammy was saying, Loury was saying that Tammy wouldn't believe him because she was her friend, some friend. These messages were infamously sent on July, from Loury, between Loury and Chad on July 1st, 2019, and we all know Charles was shot and killed in self-defense by Alex Cox on July 11th, 2019. So we see how it was obviously showing that Charles was becoming a problem for them. Also, as part of this PowerPoint, it kind of shows how Loury and Chad were discussing the dark spirits that were in Charles, and basically setting him up for being removed. Then there was the final text from Tylee's phone sent to Loury's eldest son, Colby Ryan, on November of 2019. That was also part of this mix. So all the famous text messages and emails that we've heard sporadic accounts about were part of this PowerPoint presentation presented by the prosecution, as well as the text message conversation between Loury and Chad around July 18th, 2019, discussing Charles's life insurance, where Loury is complaining about the letter she received from the life insurance company saying that she is no longer the beneficiary, and speculating on who it may be. Brandon, Kay, whoever. But Loury was not too happy with Charles, and of course he died 24 hours after that. And we also saw indications that Chad, as part of the blessing that we went over in the last summary, was telling Alex that he was Loury's protector. Yeah. Then there was text message and email conversations between Zulema and Loury talking about the spirit and entity that was allegedly living within Charles, and that name was Hyplos. and them kind of talking about how it was their mission to remove dark spirits, quiet dark spirits. So I think we all see where this is going. And then there's a mid-morning recess, and then prosecution calls Zulema to the stand about 10 a.m. She is there with an attorney who is not licensed in Idaho, but he was mainly there out of concern for the possible bringing up of her drug charge from 1998. It is discussed that they will not bring that up, and she takes the stand finally about 10:30 a.m. And Rachel Smith is questioning Zulema for the prosecution. It is confirmed that she does have some limited immunity. We're not sure how far that goes. Qualified immunity is technically. So we don't think any charges in relation to this case will ever be forthcoming, but basically asked her to confirm where she lives and that she was part of this whole belief system and was married to Alex Cox for 2 weeks before his death. Basically, Zulema confirms she met Lori through Melanie Gibb in 2018 when she saw Lori speak at Melanie's house. I don't know how big these houses are, but these people always seem to be having conferences in their house. But anyway, so basically she became part of the group, and she said that Lori was very vibrant and believed that it was her mission. Along after meeting Chad, it was their mission to silence dark spirits and eliminate dark spirits as part of being a part of the 122,000 that would usher in the return of Christ. So, yeah. Then they talk about some of the Preparing a People's conference photos that they took. And if you want to hear about my deep dive about a vow and preparing a people, I did a whole series of videos on that, as well as Zulema herself. I'll post that right up there. So basically, they're talking about some of the conferences in which Chad was at and Lori was at. And then they switched and talked about the blessing that Chad gave Zulema. He told her she was a very special person. She was going to do a lot of amazing things, and he was grateful to know her, as well as the infamous blessing that Chad supposedly gave Alex, which was very borderline creepy, where he was basically talking about how he was like the avenging angel, and he was supposed to protect Lori. Then they talked about the light and dark scale, where light numbers were, under 5 and dark numbers were over 5, and that Zulema had a very light number of 4.2. So infamous Chad's infamous light and dark. Then they talked about how Lori was concerned because Charles was having some financial difficulties, and then when it came out she was no longer the beneficiary on his life insurance policy. Yeah. And then evidently Charles's spirit changed name from 𝗙𝗵𝗁 to Garrett, and that some of their later meetings was about getting rid of Garrett, aka Charles. And basically, Zulema was going along with all this. And, of course, we know what happened to Charles. Alex, the avenging angel, took him out. And then there was the whole discussion how Lori had told Zulema that she needed to move to Rexburg because it was going to be a very special place, and the armies of God would be there, and that's why she was going. And then they broke for lunch. After lunch, direct examination continued. Zulema said that Lori was telling her that she was afraid that evil demons were attacking JJ, and they were going into JJ's service dog. And that is the reason she sold the service dog as soon as Charles died. Now, yeah, I often wonder why she just didn't kill the dog, but I suppose it was because the training group was watching her. That's the only reason that dog is still alive, that she had to give it back to the training group. They bought it back from her, and that's the reason that dog is still alive, where JJ is dead. And then we continue on with more blessings for Alex, setting him up as kind of a patsy. Zulema did go ahead and talk about that. We'll get to that in just a moment, but basically just more and more talk about JJ being dark, 𝗙lie being dark, and yeah, and then she talked about her dating relationship with Alex, how they went to dinner to get to know each other, had fun having movies, that Alex would stay at Zulema's house and stay in her bedroom when they were all back in Arizona from Rexburg. And no mention of any counseling, anti-gay counseling that she was possibly giving Alex. We don't know about that. But then they talked about Tammy, and how Tammy was now destined to do something beyond the veil, how Zulema was angry that Lori would not talk to her while they were in Hawaii. And then basically how she was shocked to hear that Tammy Daybell was dead just after they had been discussing her spirit, Viola, at a casting. So, yeah. And then we skip to Alex and Zuma being married in December in Las Vegas. And then Melanie's trauma with them basically trying to make Lori and Chad basically trying to tell her to say that JJ was with her. And then December 11th, she was shocked to hear that Tammy's body was being exhumed. She said she confronted Alex and asked him if he had anything to do with Tammy's death, and he would not answer her. And then he basically told her, either I'm a man of God or I'm not, and walked out of the room. And then he died of blood clots in the lungs the next day and was cremated, so we'll never know about that. And then they talked about the various ratings of other family members, like Ty Lee's on this darkness scale was 4.1 dark. Melly Boudreaux, now Melanie Palawaski's, was 3 light. Brandon's was 3 dark. Anyone, and then of course we had, the whole potential shooting of Brandon Boudreaux. So basically anyone that didn't agree with Lori or Chad was dark. They were very, very dark. And then John Thomas, Lori's defense attorney, begins to cross-examine Zulema. And basically a lot of rehashing. They talk about her career as a job coach and some of her conversations with Chad. Zulema did say that Chad and Lori made her feel special. And they were just people that were easy to like. I don't see it, but okay, Zulema. And then, yeah. There was... And so this is where Friday left off. There was no court yesterday, Monday, so we will get the rest of Zulema's cross-examination today on Tuesday, and I will bring that to you as soon as I have it. So I hope you're enjoying these summaries. Like I said, I know they seem very speedy, but I'm trying to condense 5 to 6 hours of testimony into a small time frame so that you don't have to listen to all of it. But I will be back very, very soon as we have more. And until next time, keto and cry.